Welcome, and let me bore you with the housekeeping. Hello, and thank you for joining us wherever in the world you are. My name is Anastasia, and I'm your host for this evening's event. We are coming at you direct from the theatre Absolute Shopfront Theatre in the heart of Coventry. Before we start the funny bit, I need to do a bit of housekeeping. We are recording this Zoom, so if this concerns you at all, please feel free to have your camera off. We have a Zoom moderator with us, Emily Laura Jones. Please wave your hand. So any questions you have, please do drop them in the chat and she will pass them on to us here. We also have a live captioner with us, Heather, to make sure that all captions are accurate. For those of you with the tester boxes, everything is vegan. Please do make sure you refer to the enclosed ingredient information sheet for details of exact ingredients and let Emily know if you have any queries. And finally, just to say that this event has been created by Tales from Coventry Tables as a commission from the University of Warwick as part of their Resonate Festival under the theme of Feast. Now, let's start the fun bit. Please welcome our first guest, Professor Eric. Hello, Professor.
Hello.
Welcome to this evening's program.
It's my pleasure.
That's good. We are happy to have you here. You are a bit of evangelist. Why are beans important as a crop generally?
Beans are very important for making good soil. And the reason for that is we need diversity of crops in order to produce good food in the fields. And it turns out that beans in particular are very helpful in bringing good nitrogen into the soil, and other crops such as cereals like maize and wheat benefit from that crop. So it's the diversity of crops provide a diversity of nutrition for plants.
Okay. I grew up in the village. We are farmers as well.
Yes.
But I worked for 3 years in a commercial farm. They grow beans there. But my favorite thing of growing beans is we catch grasshoppers.
Right.
And they are so, so delicious, those grasshoppers. So I also learned that beans are also good for fertilizer, you know, like crop rotation.
Yeah.
So from here, I'm going to phone my family to tell them to grow more beans and rotate in all the fields.
Yeah.
Why are these beans particularly we are going to eat in all the dishes today so significant?
So what we've been able to do at the university is actually generate some varieties that farmers in this country can grow.
Okay.
So the varieties that we eat in something like a British baked bean
Okay.
is actually imported
Yeah.
because the varieties don't grow well in the UK. So
Okay.
we've had to actually breed these varieties that will grow in British sunshine, in British
Okay.
soil. So there are now new varieties, and we're at the stage of building up production so that we can grow and eat our own food.
Okay. So are there any type of beans that are grown in here, in this country?
This is called the common bean, and the answer
Okay.
is no. None of the common beans that we eat in tinned beans
Yeah.
is actually grown in the UK.
Did you hear that? None of these beans you buy in the shops are grown in here. Please, we need to do something so we can have our own beans in the country.
Yeah. So that's what's exciting about today's event, is that we are experiencing it as a community,
Yeah.
eating some beans that were grown
Yeah.
on the farm at the university.
Yeah. That's good.
And the proof is in the taste.
The food is tastes when you grow it yourself, yeah? How did you choose the names of these beans?
Well, we're following with the tradition. So there had been some research done at
Okay.
the university back in the 70s and 80s, and they were generating varieties of navy bean.
Okay.
White is the white navy bean,
Okay.
which is a traditional bean, and they were naming it after Shakespeare characters because the research farm is near Stratford. So I decided the white bean, we would call it Capulet.
Okay.
So it's the family name of Juliet from Romeo and Juliet. And the other bean, so this blonde kidney-shaped bean,
Yeah.
we've named it Godiva, and this
Okay.
is really to make a connection with Coventry and
Wow.
city, Coventry of culture. This is an opportune time to actually bring Godiva into a tasting experience.
Wow. You know, I'm a Godiva sister for refugees and asylum seekers. When I saw the beans being called Godiva, I'm thinking, do you have to be naked to grow the beans? You know, I know the history of
Well, the word naked,
Godiva.
you'll probably see in what we prepared. One of the varieties, or one of the recipes,
Yeah.
is an almost naked bean recipe.
Okay.
And the purpose of this in the tasting is it's the simplest ingredients, so you can taste the character of the beans.
Yeah.
But there are a few other things that are flavoring this. So things like tomatoes and chili pepper is really good because they come from Mexico, like the beans. We know they go well with beans.
Okay.
But you have a chance to actually follow a recipe where you can get the naked experience of a naked bean.
Wow, that's good. I think I would start with the capulette because I'll be thinking if I eat the beans, I'll fall in love, you know? Just
Oh, of
like
course.
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
I think some people will be hoping for that too.
Yes.
You are a big fan of simple eating and closed loops. What do these terms mean?
When I talk about closed loop, I'm thinking about eating and we as consumers being
Okay.
a participant in our food system. So we can actually affect the food that's grown in our region, in our own country, by the things that we choose to eat.
Yeah.
So closed loop, it's asking questions like, who's prepared the food? Where are those ingredients that have been prepared coming from?
Yeah.
And who are we sharing that food with, whether it's
Yeah.
family or friends?
Yeah.
And if we all think about those questions, we start closing the loop. And the food that we want grown will be grown as long as we are willing to eat it and we know where it's being, who's preparing it.
It is important, isn't it? Because for the children, if you ask them, where do the beans come from? They will tell you something, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a story to be told.
Yeah. So they don't know. All they know is they buy the beans from the shop.
Yeah,
They don't know someone else is growing them
Yeah.
because they haven't seen the plant of a bean in here
Yeah.
growing in their garden.
Yeah.
So they just think the beans can't like grow in Tesco or Morrison's.
that's right.
So it is important, especially when you know who is growing your food you are eating,
Yeah.
or you know, like who is harvesting them,
Yeah.
who is preparing them for you to eat. It's,
Yeah.
You respect the food more.
And perhaps that's what makes beans very exciting as a topic, because
Yeah.
it is a very popular food in tinned baked beans.
Yeah.
So to have something that we can start telling the story, where did it come from? It came
Okay.
from an English farm.
Okay.
That can happen in schools as kids eat something for breakfast or lunch
Yeah.
in a school. You can have conversation about where did it come from.
These children nowadays in school, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't think they eat things like beans because they don't know where it's coming from. They know chicken and nuggets. Fish finger day, it's always good.
Yeah.
So what are your top beans cooking, you know, tips you can give to audience?
Well, we'll experience that. So the recipe I just described to you was the simplest recipe. Learning how to cook beans from a dry ingredient
Yeah.
and having simple flavorings like tomato and onion or
Yeah.
leeks that you add and a few herbs. That's the basic bean. And then the other recipes that we'll be experiencing with the other chefs will be adding other stories, other flavors that come from
Okay.
family
So
recipes.
why do you think there's no beans grown in here? Why do you think the reason is?
Well, it's because the varieties that could be grown simply can't be grown within the sort of summers that we have here in the UK. So it was a case of doing some traditional breeding, selecting varieties that would actually thrive in British sunshine over a British summer.
So is it gets affected because of the weather?
Yeah. There isn't as enough heat, enough light as you would get in, say, North America, where the beans that we do eat are grown.
I mean, there's all sorts of types of beans, so they don't have any that is in their favor of this weather. You see, I always
Yeah.
tell them the favor. You know, the weather is not that good
Yeah.
for growing
So,
anything.
there are beans that are grown here in the UK, but it's a different species of bean. It's called fava bean, and it's grown primarily for animal food. Whereas we're talking today about the common bean, which
Okay.
we can eat directly with the sort of recipes that we'll be trying out today.
Okay, so what tips do you have for those people that got like allotments so that they can, do you know the studies you are doing about growing beans?
Yeah.
What sort of tips do you give the people with allotments to prepare themselves?
Yeah. In a home garden, you can grow things like the French bean or runner beans. So a bean that you eat as a pod, it's the same species as the common bean, but the varieties are for fresh vegetables. Whereas these are varieties that are grown a bit longer. They're grown to the end of their life cycle, and they produce a pod with dry seeds, and they're harvested with a tractor.
So as a professor trying to study more about the beans, what sort of challenges are you facing?
We're at the stage of having a market. So we've got varieties that could be grown, but the next stage of the experiment is, will people eat it if it was grown and made available? So if there is a willingness and interest in amongst ourselves to actually eat these beans, then the farmers will be able to grow it and have a market to sell those beans.
So when you have that question of will people eat, what do you mean by that? Is it like another kind of beans you are trying to create?
No, we're simply adding an ingredient that we all know about. It's common beans are eaten all across the world.
Okay.
So the recipes exist, the stories exist around how to eat common beans in foods, and there's a lot of versatility in how to use this particular ingredient. The one difference is that we are making the connection with the farmers in England that could grow that ingredient to put into that food, into those recipes that we already know how to eat.
So there are other farmers that are trying to grow beans in England?
Well, we're at the stage of building a quantity of seeds so we can start engaging with farmers, finding farmers to grow the beans if there's a market for it. And that's really the purpose of today, is to experience what we could be eating and feedback and say, yes, this should be something that we should be growing here in the UK.
Wow, it's good now.
Yes.
I love beans.
Very good.
I just love beans. Thank you so much, Professor.
My pleasure.
Thank you. I think you heard that, you know, as audience, I hope you were taking notes. He's a professor, he knows what he's talking about. So please, we need to grow our own beans in this country. So right now, I think it was lovely having you, Professor.
Thank you.
We are going to watch a little film about, you know, growing the beans. So please be interested.
Basically in India we have a lot of varieties of beans. Every part of India has their own bean cultivation. So beans become part of our life. We have fresh beans that you just actually cultivate, like your peas that come out of a pod. You have your French beans and your broad beans, and your so many kinds of beans which are eaten just plucked out of a farm, you know. But then those beans are dried and they are stored. And how do we eat our beans? We can just buy it from the store, soak it overnight, pressure cook it, and then make a recipe out of it. So Indian food is all about elaborate cooking. So when you talk about beans, there are 3 or 4 things that directly come to my mind. One is highly rich in proteins, because we Indians are predominantly vegetarians, occasional non-vegetarian food. That comes as a part of our staple diet, is our proteins we get from there. Second is because it's got flatulence, we have to add in a lot of spices to reduce that. And third is, in India, beans come in seasons. So you won't get a single bean in every season. So you know, you have those flat beans or dima beans that come only in December, January, and then you store them, and you know, you dry them, and then you can use it around the year. So, and fourth is primarily, beans can be made individually, just the bean, like a baked bean or whatever. Our beans can be added with a lot of vegetables or a lot of other complements. Like I make this particular lima beans with brinjal, with aubergine. It tastes divine. If you ask me what kind of beans I eat, chickpeas, grams, green legumes, black eye beans and kidney beans, and a variety of kidney beans actually. So just in the morning I had a savory pancake with chickpea flour and pumpkin and things like that. So I don't know, I just can't imagine how many varieties of beans I consume. Maybe my kitchen would have at least 12 or 14 varieties right now.
So we have quite a lot of relatively small beans, I'd say, I guess in comparison to stuff like kidney beans. And we've got this, which is Nigerian beans, and they're very versatile and they're very brilliant. If you soak them in water beforehand, overnight for around 7 to 8 hours, they sort of cook in around 45 to 50 minutes. And so we make this thing called ewa, which is essentially the beans, but you kind of make it come to life. So what my dad's amazing, he cooks it so well, but what my dad does is that he puts his onions in, he puts his chicken stock, and then he puts the beans into it and he stirs it in, and that what happens is that it becomes a really nice sort of bean stew. He then puts a bit of tomato puree into it, and sweet corn. Another thing that we do is that we make this thing called moi moi, which is kind of like a bean cake. And the way that we make it is that you put the beans in water, you let it soak for a bit, and then you put it into a massive bowl, and then you step on it. And obviously your feet are clean first, and you step on it, and then what happens is that it brings off all of the skin from the beans. And what you do is that you take a bit of it, then you put it into a blender, you put a bit of water into it, so it creates a bit of a bean paste. You blend in some tomato puree as well, so it becomes like an orange bean mixture. Actually, what's kind of done in Nigeria is that mixture is put into palm leaves, and then it's put into you make quite a lot of it, and you put it into a massive pot and you steam it. But it's really good, and it's amazing. Like, Nigerians love their spice. It's honestly, it's like if it's not spicy, is it actually food?
Hello, welcome back to our program. I hope you enjoyed the little film you just watched. We have to be grateful to Emily Lauren Jones and the artist Luisa Frestas for this little movie. Right now, we are welcoming our second chef, Diksha. Welcome to our program, Diksha. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you.
Are you enjoying the program tonight?
Absolutely, it's fascinating.
You call this recipe fusion. Why is that?
I suppose because the kidney beans are kind of Ugandan staple,
Okay.
cooked in an Indian style. So that's the fusion. And I was born in Uganda.
Wow.
To Indian parents. So yes, to me it's fusion food.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good. I think I can see the fusion bit of it, yeah? Being grown in Uganda and then, you know, being cooked in an
Indian style.
Indian style. That's good. is there a specific reason you chose this dish?
I chose this dish because I think quite possibly it's my favourite dish.
Okay.
My favourite dish. It's just rich, full of flavour, really comforting, and something I remember eating as a child. The first thing I learnt to cook before when I went away to university. The first thing I cooked when I was away at university, aside from fish finger sandwiches and jacket potatoes. Yeah, so, and the thing I taught my daughter to cook when she went away to university. So yeah, it's actually super tasty and comforting.
Oh, wow, that's good. Who taught you how to cook the recipe?
My mother taught me.
Mothers are everything, isn't it?
Yeah, they really are. I feel really lucky actually. She's an amazing cook. Yeah.
How old were you when you started learning how to cook?
I suppose I always hung around the kitchen as a child, and you know, the basic jobs, so chopping the salad or washing things or laying the table, and bit by bit you were given a more complicated job to do, and I was always terrified of frying things, so that was probably the last thing I learned how to do, was actually fry something. But yeah, I think just being around my mum and being in the kitchen and watching her is
okay.
Yeah.
So did you pass the skills to your children?
Yeah, my daughter used to spend a lot of time in the kitchen watching me and seeing what I was doing, and bit by bit giving her jobs. And I did the same with my sons as well, to get them to join in and cook. And we were quite lucky during the lockdown. We all cooked, so we took it in turns to have our day when we were cooking. And I think everyone was getting quite adventurous in the kitchen. I think it's an important thing for families to do.
Wow. So as a mother, do you take sides with the one child is cooking?
I try not to interfere. I try not to interfere. Obviously, things need to be cooked in a hygienic manner. So, I mean, they've got the basics around hand washing. But, yeah, I think learning about flavours and learning about ingredients is something that you can guide people. But I think people develop their own tastes in the kitchen, don't they? Yeah, my daughter really likes East Asian food, so she cooks quite a bit of food from Japan, she cooks quite a bit of food from Korea, and Chinese food. She likes that a lot, so I wouldn't interfere necessarily, because she has more skills than I do in those cuisines.
Yeah, so as I know, you know, beans, I know that if you don't cook them well, if you eat them the wrong time, they will haunt you in the night. Yeah. So do you have a certain way of cooking your beans that you know they are well cooked? Yeah.
So this, the bean recipe that people have received, so the bean shack, which is in the pot. Yeah, bean shack. So in Gujarati, we call, the English word, you use the word curry, but we call it shack. So anything we cook in a certain style, and it tends to be vegetables as opposed to beans. But yeah, I think there's something about using things like turmeric and ginger and all of those things that are really good for your stomach. Help to kind of counterbalance the upsetting effects of beans, and cooked well, you know, they shouldn't upset your stomach at all. But yeah.
Wow. That's good. So do you cook this and eat as a family, or do you cook it at a certain time, like let's say birthdays? Would you cook beans for a birthday?
I wouldn't cook beans for a birthday, no, but this is like a go-to dish when you want something super tasty and you're short of time, and yeah, and everyone loves it. So you can eat it with anything, basically. So you can eat it with a slice of bread if you want to. But I have been known to eat this on its own. But I mean, more or less, we eat it with rice, or you can eat it with chapatis or naan bread. But yeah, it goes with anything. You could probably have it on a jacket potato as well, actually, thinking about it.
I think it's a good idea. Do you eat beans if you are angry?
Really? Is that a thing? I didn't know
No,
about that.
I heard some people, when they are angry, they have to eat beans.
Interesting.
They say it calms them down.
I think there might be something in that. I find it really comforting and really calming to eat beans. And it's a sort of thing, there's almost a ritual around sitting quietly and eating beans, I think, especially when it's something that is so evocative of my childhood and being around my family as a child, and you know, just the flavors and the smells in the kitchen. It's one of those dishes.
How difficult was it for you to come up with the meal? Like, you know, like writing it down. You want to people to follow how to cook the recipe.
Really hard. It's really, really hard to write down a recipe because I think certainly my mum sort of cooked by instinct. So she'd throw a bit of this and she'd throw a bit of that in, and you kind of watch and kind of try and keep up. But I think it's through trial and error that you develop your own balance of spices. So you kind of know instinctively how much to throw in and whether to put a bit more in. So it was really hard to write the measurements. But I think I probably got it pretty close in the recipe.
So if our audience wants to follow, you know, the eye, which corner of the eye can they use to see that the ingredients?
I think they should probably practice with the recipe a few times and see whether they want to adjust any of the ingredients. Probably the things they might want to adjust, I would suggest, is the salt. It may be the ginger. Some people like more ginger. Some people might like more garlic. You might like more chili, fresh chili or chili powder, and possibly even cumin. But yeah, play around with the recipe once you've tried it a few times. I would recommend you boil the beans before you actually make the curry, though, because I think that it would come out softer. And the whole point of this is it's quite a soft bean recipe. So I'd probably boil the beans or pressure cook them before you cook this.
Can you pressure cook beans?
Yeah.
Some people, they soak the beans overnight.
You definitely need to soak them overnight. You definitely need to do that and then pressure cook them or boil them for 20 minutes before you cook this. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. So how do you feel now? The professor said we don't have our own kind of beans in this country.
Yeah.
You know, I always used to complain when I see a small little pack, it's maybe £2.99 and all that. Because I didn't know we don't have our own beans in this country.
Yeah.
Now, since the professor said we don't have, I'm going to buy, you know, without thinking twice about it, because everything is being imported. How do you feel about the beans? You know, something as delicious as beans, we have to import. Imagine if the borders get closed.
I know.
That means we don't have to have beans.
I think that would be a big issue, because we do
I'll be depressed.
We eat a lot of beans in our house, and it would be a massive issue if we couldn't get hold of beans. But how exciting is that? A Godiva bean?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was shocked.
Coventry bean. Well, that's amazing. And so hopefully people are tasting this now and they're enjoying it. But
they need to. I hope they follow your instructions on how to cook the beans. You need to do it well. As I said before, it is a well-known fact. If you don't cook beans very well, believe me, in the night, they will come back and haunt you. By the next day, you are something else. So you need to make sure you pressure cooked. I didn't know you can pressure cook them. I always soak my beans overnight and then cook them. But then I hear you can pressure. I think it can't like shorten the time.
It shortens the time
because
to cook
the
them,
beans, they can't like take too long to cook them.
Yeah.
So it's really, really good. So do you have like a certain time that it's good to eat them with something else? What sort of things would you eat your beans with?
Yeah, like I said earlier, can eat them with, probably goes best with rice. So I would recommend having with rice. But yeah, this is my go-to in the week meal when I can't think of what else to cook and I need to cook something quickly. Yeah. So I mean, this is a super quick recipe. Wow. That anyone can do. Anyone. That's it's really straightforward.
No, I love beans. I just want to be able to grow my own beans. Yeah. And you know, make sure I'm eating proper beans that I grow, which is very good. So lovely to have you here, Dexter.
Thank you.
And I enjoyed everything. I'll try my best to follow your cooking so I can be happily ever after.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are here now welcoming our third chef, Safa. Welcome, Safa.
Welcome, Anastasia.
Today is a beans day, as we can hear. Different types of cooking, different ways of cooking beans. How are you today?
A little bit cold.
I see. Huh? Professional chef, yeah?
Thank you.
Why have you chosen this recipe?
Originally, I am from Libya,
Yeah.
and the couscous is one of our traditional meal or dish. And we have tried couscous with fish, with vegetable, with meat, chicken, any like with the chicken beans, which it's called hummus in our language. But I told myself why we can't try it with beans.
Okay.
And we have like a traditional called couscous with like something like broccoli steams.
Okay.
And we crunch it with we steam it with with a couscous, and we put a sauce on it. And I told myself why we can't put beans with this sauce to make it going with the couscous. We
Okay.
have couscous with its carbohydrate, and we have protein, which is beans, and mix it together. And to be honest, I'm really happy with this dish.
Okay, with mixing couscous with beans.
Yeah.
You see, normally I don't really eat couscous because I'm thinking, as an African, when I eat food, I need to eat food and feel that I'm filled. So I was not eating couscous because I just think it wouldn't fill me up.
Yeah.
So now from here, I'm gonna go try and mix it up with my with the beans.
Yes, because I know what you mean. Couscous by its own is not enough, and you will feel hungry very
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
The good thing with beans that it make you full and warm, and I think eating beans by its own, it's too heavy, and
Okay.
it's good to mix it with something else. In our traditional way, normally we eat the sauce with beans with a slice of bread. Like we need something with it.
Okay.
Beans with rice, beans with the bread, beans with couscous. Normally like this, never eats beans by its own.
Okay.
We always like it to eat it by something.
Okay.
And because of this, like make it with a spoon, you can eat it with a spoon. I make it with couscous. Couscous is a little bit lighter with beans, something heavy and warm.
Okay.
It's good to make it like a mixture together.
Okay, so you said you had your traditional way of cooking the beans.
Yes.
What adaptations did you have to make, to make sure your
About the beans.
recipe? Yeah.
The first thing that, because beans, as my colleague said, that it take long time to do, and to be honest, I cooked my beans with a pressure pan to make it softer. And normally beans need to cook, first of all, we soak it for like one night.
Okay.
Then we boil it for, if it is normal pot, we put it like for 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
But with the pressure pan, 9 minutes it will be cooked.
All right.
Yes, you save time and you
Yeah.
save, yes. And put it with your sauce, with your recipe for 5 minutes, and it became soft and ready to eat.
Okay. I know you have a special way of cooking rice. Tell us about it.
The special way about the rice that never mix the rice after you mix it from the first time. Normally, I have learned how to cook from watching my mom, and I start in very early age when I start doing my high school. I start cooking. I start with simple thing, and by watching my mom, and the normal way that my mom and me do the rice, that we mix it first, then we cover it,
Yeah.
close it for 10 minutes, never open and mix like regularly when you cook it.
Yeah.
Cook it, mix it the first time, close it for 10 minutes, then turn off.
Okay.
Yes, and leave it for 10 to 15 minutes, cook by steam,
Okay.
and it will become perfect. But if you keep mixing it, you will break the rice and take longer.
Okay.
But if you cover it for 10 minutes, then turn off, leave it for another 10 minutes, and your rice will be perfect.
All right. I've seen somewhere where the rice and the beans are mixed, and I know it takes longer
Yeah.
for the beans to be cooked, and the rice takes 10 minutes, as you said.
Yes.
How do they mix it up? Because it doesn't look like they cook separately and then mix it up
As
later.
I told you, yes, as even my colleague said, that we need to boil the beans before we put it with anything, like with the sauce, with the rice, even with the salad. If you cook it before, then you think that it needs 5 minutes, 10 minutes more, you can mix it like with the rice, because rice never take long time to cook. It's only 10 minutes, and it will be good with the beans to mix it together.
Okay. Your mother taught you to cook and was particular about her beans. Did she soak them as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Overnight, and sometimes what she do, she soak them, boil it for 10 minutes, and she put it in the fridge. When she want to cook them, it is already ready, and it is in the fridge, in the freezer.
Okay, so does that mean she boil and then cool down, you know, because you
yes, we need boil it, and after you cool down, put it in the plastic bag with the date, and put it in the freezer, and use it anytime you want. For example, as I told you, like a sauce, like with a salad, with the rice. But these kind of beans, you need to boil it first, then you cook it with the thing that you want.
You know, in any food we eat, there's like some sort of goodness in it. So is there, like with beans, is there any limited time that you can leave it in the freezer?
Normally, it's not more than 6 months.
Okay.
Anything. And the main rule, if you get it out from the freezer, you can't put it back. This is the healthy way for you. Even after studying this stuff, everything you put it in the freezer and you get it out, not put it back, because you only freeze it once and you will lose the volume for it, and you need to eat it, or you have to reduce it.
Okay, so now with beans, I mean, now we know, as I always refer to the professor, that we don't have our own kind of beans. You see all those beans are there, different kinds. They are even trying to mix this and this to make our own. How do you feel about that? I'm
so proud and I'm so happy about that Coventry has a special thing with this. And even when you mix it together, it looks fabulous. And the good thing that we can make the couscous salad, and you put it, and it's good. It's the couscous salad. The couscous is white, the salad is green, and tomato, cucumber. And when you put this one, it will be like colorful and tasty at the same time. This is, I'm so happy about it.
If they start growing the beans, would you go and work in the beans field?
Yes.
Because if you don't grow, you won't have anything to eat, yeah?
Do you think so?
Yes,
I agree with you
on
this point.
Always, if you hear professor say, now we are doing it, you make sure you follow professor.
Yeah.
We go to the field together.
Yes.
We work hard. So we can harvest our own beans.
Even it is good, it is like meat, it has a lot of protein, and it's very healthy.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anastasia.
And keep on learning more about the beans.
Yes,
the goodness of the beans. Yes. So I can see you going somewhere with your chef.
Thank you, Anastasia.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So now we are going to go on the second bit of our film. We need to know more about this. Make sure you've got your pen and paper. You write everything they are saying. You don't want to poison the children, do you? So make sure you write all the ingredients, the way they are saying you should do. That's what you should do. We don't want to hear, those people on the Zoom, they were making us do this. That's why I didn't. No, we don't want that. So let's watch the second bit of the film. Thank you.
The different beans that we have in Serbia, or variety of beans that we use, we commonly are white beans. We do have, instead of green colored French beans, we have yellow ones, but very simple recipes. It's very simple. It's just onion, beans, and lots of different spices. In those other days, when meat is allowed, there is not fasting or before Lent for Easter, or fasting for Christmas, then they will use lots of sausages, pork chops into it. And the most popular is called prebranac, which is kind of baked beans in a special dishes that we use. It's just onion, lots of onions, garlic, beans, and sun-dried peppers as well goes to that. So that's the main dish they serve on Christmas Eve, as well as on other special occasions as well. These days, if you go to any modern type restaurants, you can still find, if you go any town in Serbia, you can still find those dishes on the menu. Yeah, the favorite recipes from childhood, it would be from my grandmother and then my mother. Actually, night before is cooked, they will get a bag of white beans and sift through. We'll have a heap of white beans on a table, and you just have to go and pick them and to obviously select the good ones and to discard the bad ones, and put them in a pot of cold water and to soak overnight. And in the morning, I remember my grandmother made me chop onions and crying like forever. And so you chop onions, garlic, and you just like simmer that first, and then cook beans. And then when all is mixed together, cooked together, then you mix them and put them in these special dishes and put them in the oven. And on the top you put lots of parsley. It's very simple, nothing into it really, but with homemade bread, brings all of that flavors and memories of childhood. Even now, when I just think about it, I can smell the flavors.
They brought the beans back, and you may not know this, but the first potatoes and beans was grown at Little Virginia, first place they were planted, just not a million miles away down the road in the shadow of Kenilworth Castle, which is still there today. And there's a little patch of green there as well to denote the fact. But from Kenilworth they made their way to the Lord Lee estate in Stoneleigh. And my great-great-grandmother worked on the estate along with many other members of the family at Stoneleigh, and they grew these beans from many years ago, over hundreds of years ago, and brought them along until here we are today. They were unadulterated, pure strain beans, and that was because the first row of beans that grew were denoted by a ribbon, and you put the ribbon on the beans and you never pick those beans. Those beans were left on the stalk until they went like this, brown and crispy, and then in September and October they took them off the beans, shelled them, and you spread them on nice brown paper to take out the moisture, and then stored them in a simple tin like this and used them year on year, forever and a day, until we are doing it today. And my daughter Rachel is also planting them. We know their flavour is wonderful. They're a deep green in colour, and sometimes they'll go purple. And the purple always turns to green when you boil them.
Well, Nana was extremely green-fingered and she could grow anything, even said a dry roasted peanut once. And in her garden she had potatoes, tomatoes and rows of these lovely runner beans. So we think it's fabulous that now these beans that are over 100 years old are still growing in the community garden in Coventry next to her bench that we had installed last year.
So there we are, we've got beans which go back hundreds of years, grown here in Coventry, still being grown here in Coventry.
Welcome back to our program. We have got our fourth guest, Adeline. As you can see, there is a table. It means business. You know, this program is getting somewhere. Adeline, you are going to show us how to make the recipe that is included in the taster packs. Tell us why you created them.
Right, well, I created my bean and zucchini bread because I wanted to do something different to show the versatility of beans. Like my colleagues here, yes, very used to a wet bean, very used to cooking tasty beans, but I thought that it's such a wonderful product anyway. The varieties, they've all got different flavours and textures, and I just felt it would be nice to just do something a bit different. So I wanted to do a sweet dish, and that's how
It is different.
It is different, but I think it's nice and tasty. With the bean, in this case, what I did with it was I actually pureed it. So I'm actually going to demonstrate the pureeing of the bean.
Okay.
So as been described before, these were soaked overnight, and I cooked them in a mixture of pineapple and orange juice. And this was to imbue some sweetness into the bean as it was cooking without actually adding any sugar. So I've done some already this morning. I'm just draining them off because it's easier to puree these when they are warm.
Okay.
Okay. So let me just show the camera how the beans will look. So they're lovely and plump, and they're really soft, and they do taste quite sweet. So I'm just turning them a little bit here because I want to get as much moisture as I can out. I want it moist, but not too wet. Okay. So I'm just going to take that liquid out. I have my helper today, Safa. So Safa's going to just come and take a few things away from me as I work.
Okay.
So I'm just now pushing these beans. These beans, cook them for as long as you can without them completely melting away in the pan.
Okay.
So I too pressure cook these. I cook them for about an hour. That's actually quite long in a pressure cooker, but as I said, I really wanted them quite soft because I want to go through the sieve easy. As you can see, when you have a bean, it's hard to begin with. So trust me, you are not going to hurt it to cook it for a long time. And you can see it's actually going through the sieve really easily.
Okay.
So you may ask me, why don't I blend these? And the reason why I don't blend is my heritage is Caribbean cookery, and I like to stay as authentic as I can to the methods that we might use. In saying that, I'm not a martyr. I'm not going to kill myself if there's an easier way of doing it. But I like the process of the putting it through a sieve because I actually want some of the pea pieces to be present so that you get that little bit of a bite of the pea. You get more of the flavour. Also, you're extracting flavour from the skins as well. We don't use them, but they also give, especially in the sweet bean butter, a lovely flecked appearance. So as you can see, so here I've just pushed them through the sieve. All this is the skins right here. And then underneath, we have the bean puree.
Wow.
Okay.
So is there anything else you can use if you don't have the sieve?
You can use a blender.
Okay.
I like to use, I mean, even though it's more work, I do like to use the sieve, but you can use a blender or a food processor to just get that blend. But then I would still advise you to put it through a sieve, because you really, it's one thing having flecks of skin, but you don't want chunks of skin in this as well.
Okay.
So now, that was the puree that I've used. And in my recipe, it's called a bread because of the texture, but it's really a cake. But it's a beautiful bread-like cake taste. I think it's because it's made with plain flour, so it's got a tighter texture. And I personally like it warmed, slathered with as much butter as it can hold. So after you've followed the recipe where you mix all your dry ingredients together except the sugar, with your wet ingredients you mix that with the sugar, and then you combine the two, but you alternate the adding of the grated courgette in between. So I do flour, courgette, flour, so flour, courgette, and then you end on the flour. Once you've added the flour, each time make sure you've mixed thoroughly, and it doesn't take very long to mix once you've added those ingredients. And then finally you add your raisins, and once you've added your raisins, your batter will look a little like this. Oh, sorry, can I get my spatula back, please? Thank you very much. Just clean that off.
So who taught you how to cook?
My mom was, I think she's everybody's inspiration, but my mom was a fantastic cook. And yeah, she had me sous chefing for her from about the age of 6.
Ah,
Yeah,
you hear that, the age of 6, and you tell me in this country, the age of 6.
Yes, yes.
You are not allowed, even the age of 15. They are not allowed to go anywhere near the stove without you being there.
Well, my mom had me, like my other counterparts here, chopping, cutting, washing, peeling. I mean, I'm a whiz at peeling potatoes, by the way.
Wow.
And carrots. I've done it for so long. And yeah, so I learnt from my mom, and she was a great believer in not buying anything shop bought, so everything was made fresh every single day.
This is good. Beans, now they are becoming a cake. I never heard of such thing.
Yep. This is just another way to pack protein into even the most decadent of snacks, really. You know, there is so much to offer that beans have. And so just trying to get this in. This mixture can easily make about 2 cakes. This is just a takeaway tin that I've just got. And if you're using these, it will actually make a lot more than 2.
Yeah. Since you started learning how to cook at an early age, are you now in the food industry at the moment?
No, I'm not. I'm a pencil pusher. But I love food. I love food. I particularly love Caribbean food and ethnic food. I love Indian food, Southeast Asian food. In fact, I just love food. As long as it tastes good and tickles the taste buds, I'm really all over it.
Wow.
So let me just add that. So just the last little bit on the cake here. Waste not, want not. And don't forget, this has bean, it has courgette, it has raisins in. And I've never seen a child yet refuse even a second slice. So it's just another way to get children as well to hopefully enjoy eating beans and vegetables. And so that's how it looks once it's in the tin. This is cooked for 50 minutes on 175 degrees C in an electric oven. Do check, if you're using an egg substitute, it might tell you to do, to increase the cooking time, but I would say look at whatever egg substitute you're using and that will give you further directions. So the last thing I'm going to do for you right now is I'm going to actually demonstrate the sweet bean butter. It's very, very simple.
Okay.
So in my bowl here, I have 65 grams of the bean puree.
Okay.
And I have 65 grams of vegan butter and a good pinch of salt. Okay?
A good pinch.
A good pinch, because we're adding icing sugar to this and it's going to be sweet. So, and again, you can always temper that a little bit with the salt. Right, I always like to start off slow because then it kicks up a lot of dust. So into this now, I am going to add 110 grams of icing sugar. Safa, could I have my spatula again, please? Thank you.
That's icing sugar, that one.
So this is icing sugar, and I'm going to add a little bit of Caribbean vanilla essence. With the Caribbean essence, they just add more than essence, so it's got some spices, and I don't know, but it smells really good, you know. And I buy it from the Caribbean shop, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to add a little bit of essence to that. I'm going old school here and just estimating it, but in the recipe, it is about a teaspoon.
Okay.
Okay.
I think you are all taking notes. You know, it will be good that when you try it at home, then you get my number, you call me, I come and test it, so that I will let you know whether you did a good job in following instructions.
So I'm just covering this at the moment to ensure that we don't spray the place with icing sugar. I'm just going to add a little bit more of the paste. So in the pot, in your taster pot, there is paste here. And so you can have a try and see what you think of it yourself. I'm going to add a good dollop of that into the bean paste. And also as well, this might be a good thing to try your bean paste with. I think I'm okay for the minute.
Okay.
Because I really want you to see that lovely pink colour that starts to develop. Here we go.
Wow.
Right, just getting off as much spray as we can.
Okay.
And here we go. So here we are. We have our sweet bean butter. Now you will notice that when you first do it, there will be kind of a bit of a curdling look to it. It's not a problem, because don't forget your bean curd has moisture in it. So once it goes back into the fridge and it just sets a little bit, you can then give it another whisk and that will disappear. And that is the bean butter. And we do have a big reveal of the actual bean bread. Okay.
Wow.
Here's one I made earlier.
This is beautiful.
So this is how it will look when it comes out of the oven, hopefully, or something resembling that. And I'll just cut so you can see what it actually looks like when you cut it. I'm hoping this has worked, by the way. It's going to be monumentally embarrassing if it hasn't. So, do use a serrated edge knife because it just helps cut through cleanly.
Oh.
So that is how your bean bread will look. Okay. Wow. Anastasia, can I interest you in a little bit of the bean bread with a little dash of the sweet bean butter?
You know, food is my thing, you know.
Okay, well, let me
Where there's food, there's me.
I'm just going to, like, paint it on here. So, here we go. I would welcome your opinion.
Wow.
And as has been stated, this recipe, along with everyone else, is vegan.
Don't be jealous, though.
How is that? Well, as we were just saying, I really do enjoy cooking, and Anastasia...
This is what you are supposed to do. When you cook, I come, I taste. See, I know what it tastes like. Then I'll let you know whether you've done it very well.
But that's the beauty
This is
of beans.
delicious.
That's the beauty of beans. You can add it anywhere. And as we say, if you look at the texture, it's not a sponge cake. It is more sort of like a homemade bread. But yes.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful, I tell you. Ask my stomach. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Thank you. That was lovely. I think I need a cup of tea. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
For everything. Are you gonna forget, yeah? You're gonna forget the cake on the table.
We shall see.
You can't take it now. We can just mute them on Zoom. Huh? Then I'll deal with the cake. This is really good. Yeah, I think we do have time for questions. So what I would say is, for those with questions, write your questions in the chat box. And then they are going to be sent to us. So now you prepare yourself. In all the notes you are writing, now write the questions you have got in the chat box. Now we are going to call back all our guests, so you can ask them anything and everything you need to know about cooking with beans. I'm going to use my phone. You see, technology. They are going to send the questions on my phone. So please. Okay, the first question is for the professor. Can you grow the beans using a greenhouse?
Short answer is yes.
Uh-huh.
All of our research has been done in greenhouses, but you need to keep in mind in terms of growing this for food, it is a seed crop.
Yeah.
So you could ask the same question about wheat.
Okay.
Why don't we grow wheat in a greenhouse? It's just not practical.
Yeah.
So for food production, it is a field crop.
Okay. I think this one is also for Professor. Is there any way we can buy the capulette beans, or if she wants to be in love, or is there a substitute beans for capulette beans?
So at the moment, it's not for commercial sale.
Yeah.
So we do have a seed company that's helping to produce the quality seed, which
Okay.
can then be sold to farmers to actually grow the food. So in the meantime, there certainly are sources of the similar sort of bean to Capulet. You
Okay.
can buy dry beans from any grocery store. But initially, the food that we're producing on the university farm, it won't be enough for sale, but the plans are is that we will have events like this and do community engagement sort of events to get people within Coventry, within the Midlands, familiar with this bean as we start to bring it into production. We already have customers ready and waiting to join us in this building of a market around beans.
Okay. I think this is also for you, from Dave and Judy. I'm part of the community-supported agricultural project near Leamington. So our members have a direct connection with their vegetables and some fruit. What is the yield of these beans? What acreage would we need to provide, say, 1.5 kgs of beans per year for 150 households? I have grown heritage beans for drying in my garden, and yield is not high.
Yes. So this, as I said, this is a seed crop for grain production.
Okay.
So if you have the farming equipment to drill the beans, to put them into the ground, and then to harvest with a combine, the yield is something like 2 tons per hectare. So
Okay.
I guess the amount that's being asked here is about that amount. So
Okay.
you would need about a hectare of land and the right equipment to produce food for that number of households.
Okay, a hectare.
Yeah. So, but the real message here is that this is a crop that we should be growing over large areas so that in your household garden, you can grow things like tomatoes and chili peppers,
Yeah.
things that have good flavor that you're going to cook with the beans. And what we need is to have our field production like wheat. We don't grow wheat for bread in our home gardens.
Yeah.
We need to grow beans in the same way and have it available so we can cook with these other ingredients that we're growing in our own gardens.
All right. That's good. For Deksha, what have your children most enjoyed learning to cook, do you think?
What have they enjoyed learning to cook? Sorry, microphone. Let me think. I think one of my boys has just got super excited about opening a cookbook and just picking a recipes, and
Okay.
he's been like really adventurous. We've had quite complex recipes with multiple stages, and most of the time he's been successful. They cook so many things during lockdown.
Okay.
It's something I just encourage all young adults to have a go, is get in the kitchen and give it a go. I'm trying to think of the things that he's been cooking, things that we wouldn't ordinarily cook. I think he made a cottage pie, I seem to recall.
Okay.
Yeah, which was kind of interesting. It's not sort of food we normally eat.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
And I've got another question for Safa. It was interesting to have the mixed spice in your beans, as we use spices like nutmeg, cinnamon, clove, etc. for baked goods, which are sweet. So it was interesting to have them in a bean dish. Are many Libyan dishes sweetly spiced? What about Libyan desserts?
Libyan dessert is similar, like we have like baklava, it's which one with almond and sweet. We have like special things, but about with the spices, in the Middle East is known with a lot. Middle East country that like they know with a lot of spices food, and we love to put spices, but with the dessert we don't.
Okay.
We use like normal dessert. We have simple cakes, and now with the social media, Libya has growth up a lot, and the girls there, they develop their skills in doing cakes and this stuff. But about the sweets, we not actually put any kind of spices in the sweets.
Okay, this one is for Edlin. I know you are linked to local entry leave it to Esme's. Can you please share a few easy vegan swaps with us?
So what kind of vegan? Are you looking at savoury or sweet? Or
No.
all right. So I
Any,
think
just give
okay.
them.
So a nice easy vegan dish is a chickpea curry.
Chickpea curry.
So again, the way we use that, it's cheap. We get tin chickpeas, but even though you get the tin chickpeas, do boil them again to get them softer. Don't use them straight out the can because it'll be quite hard. And again, use a spice mix of your own, or someone's mentioned Esme's. Esme has her own curry blend, which is an all-encompassing curry spice that if you add that, you don't really have to add anything else. So you add that, you do your onions, you do your tomatoes, and you add your chickpeas to that. I like to add the chickpea water as well, and you just let that simmer and cook down, and for about 20 minutes, and you get a very, very quick chickpea dish.
Okay, this one is for the professor again. Is there anything you would like to say to all the viewers tonight in summary before I sign us off?
Right. Well, I'm really excited by all this demonstration of versatility of working with these common beans.
Okay.
The varieties of foods, the flavors, the excitement about cooking. It's this dialogue, the stories that we're beginning to tell here that I think is going to be very encouraging for the future of bringing these varieties to market. Mm-hmm. Starting in Coventry.
Okay.
It's part of our new food culture in the Midlands.
That's good. Today's program was all about beans, growing them, cooking them, and eating them. Please go home and cook the beans.
Thank you, baby.
Okay. Let me see. There are some special people we need to thank. Yeah. Technology. I was about to rush you to go cook the beans because I'm hungry. Tonight's program, we have got special people to thank. The University of Warwick for the opportunity. Our guests, chefs Eric, Dexter, Safa, and Atlee. Emily, Lauren, Louisa, and their wonderful film participants. That's you guys. Heather for the captions, Jack behind the scenes, there he is, and also the Lodic Rooms, Cogs of Coventry Market, and Theatre Absolute for their support. We thank you all. We enjoyed tonight's program. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the bread as well. Please, now you can go and cook the beans and call me to come and eat the beans. Thank you so much. That's it.